I am a first generation cheesemaker on my family's dairy farm. We have been, dairy farming is long in my blood and in my history, but cheesemaking is not. So I am the fortunate and the brave to start that on our farm. And we've been making cheese for over 6 years now. And I'm really looking forward to sharing my story. So the first cheese is Little Lucy Brie, and Lucy is our oldest daughter. She's now 8. I think she was 3 when we first made this, and so now she calls it Lucy Brie because she's no longer little. But it's it's by far the cheese that sustains us as a business. It's our least rewarded but most popular and sold cheese in our company. We wanted to make something that chefs could put on a cheese plate and not have to do much with preparation for it. Or, when you bring a brie into your home, you eat some of it, and then you wrap it up, put it in your fridge, and then a couple days later take it out, and you're disappointed because it's mushy and gross. So we wanted something where you can have one wheel, eat it with one other person in one setting, and then hopefully you bought two, so you have another one for later. But just something small. Our brie has been questioned if it's a triple creme. It is not, but we do just utilize the milk as it comes. So in the winter time, our brie will be especially creamy because our milk has a lot higher fat and protein content, and will just turn out that way. It's very creamy, has very grassy notes, and just something that we put just on about everything, especially with, I love to have a baguette with prosciutto and some olive oil and some brie, and I'm set.
One of the things that, when I first saw this, I was thinking of some of the classics that are, that have been out there, St. Andre, of course, the Cowgirls, with their Mount Tam and all that. And this is such a beautiful rind on this cheese. It's thick enough that when working with this, I thought it would be really kind of nice to be able to show how beautiful the separation that is starting to get on this rind is. So beautiful. It's almost a yellow, getting a little hint of amber on this. It's such a beautiful paste on here. And it's young enough to still have a little bit of tanginess, which is really fun, to have the cheese like that. Being this large, it's not going to ripen completely in the center. So you get that beautiful butter and tang that I love about it. And the rind smells like a white button mushrooms would be the best way to.
Uh-huh.
Very, very pleasant. I think anybody that is looking for a brie that doesn't really get that heavy earthiness to it, this is beautiful. For not being a triple creme, this is really amazing, through there. So pairing wise, I decided to go with a classic fig spread. This is the Perseverance Society. Really nice, thick flavors, and of course some Marcona almonds on top of it. So something through there, and Effie's original oat cracker biscuit. I won't put that together, and because it's so thick, I cut it in half and then cut it in half and then cut a little wedge on here. And what's really cool is that the rind's on the bottom, so it doesn't stick to everything when you're, enjoying it. And then pairing wise for beer, I have, this is a coffee porter. And I thought it'd be, really fun to have a little bit of that. And this is a local brewery, 81 Bay Brewery from Tampa.
I love that. We've done a peanut butter porter with a strawberry jam on those Effies, kind of to get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich taste to it. So good. So I agree with that pairing. I think that was great.
You know, for Valentine's Day, this would be a perfect cheese to split between,
Yeah.
you know, two people. It's just so delicious. I love the slight tangy and butteriness of this. You know, this is one of the Bries that you can just enjoy all by itself. You don't have to go through, add more things to it. It's always fun to put something more, but this is such a delicious Brie. I really love this.
Thank you.
So why the tall format? Why not a puck?
You know, I actually, when I did the course at the Vermont Institute of Artisan Cheese, I got to help. I have to remember what her name was, but I got to help someone over the weekend in between the class salt her cheeses, and it was Champlain Valley Creamery, and she has a triple creme made just like that, and that was the first I had ever seen cheeses that shape, and uh, knew no one in the Midwest has anything like that. So that's literally why we decided on that size. I thought it was cute.
Well, it's a beautiful cheese. It tastes wonderful. It has great display beauty. I mean, you know, it just looks great on the display as well. Uh, you know, uh, what's the shelf life, or as it ages? What is this? Does it become more buttery? Does it become more mushroomy? How does this age?
Yeah, it gets creamier as it ages. You know, it breaks down from the outside in, and it actually gets a little more pungent as it goes. So I'm actually used to eating a lot of very ripe brie, so I'm never used to it being so young. But it gets kind of a stink to it, which I think is really fun before it becomes ammoniated and outdated. But um, we usually give it about 12 to 13 weeks. So it has a really decent shelf life. And we always put a born on sticker on the bottom so people can realize I really like this cheese young, or I like it when it's runny and pungent. So they can pay attention to that date and figure out what their favorite age of it is.
On here, you it came wrapped in a paper. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, we wrap both the brie and our Munster in a cheese paper. We hand wrap every single wheel, and just seems like for us a good way to preserve that wheel and to allow air to slowly transfer between the cheese and the outside air, so that that mold can stay nice and fluffy underneath.
Yeah, when I opened it, the rind was still a little soft, and it
Yeah.
wasn't matted down that well. So is this paper something that you get, you just regular paper, or you specialty paper?
It's a cheese paper that we get through Fromagex, um, especially for they worked with us to get this for our bloomy rind cheese, but I think it's used on other cheeses as well.
Okay. So anything else you'd like to say about the cheese?
I think something that's really fun that people can do with it, especially when spring and summer roll around, we've played a lot with putting the brie on a grill, especially after you've taken your steak off of the grill. You put that brie on right where the steak was, and you know, watch it, but flip it a couple times on a grill, and it's like a whole new experience. Skip the whole baking part of it and bring it outside with you. It's been really fun.
I've done a creme brulee style where I've cut off the top of the brie, you know, cutting it all like this and sprinkling some brown sugar on it, and then of course melting it with a little torch,
Yeah,
and turning that into a nice little you know, creme brulee. Because this
nice.
would be beautiful because There's enough structure in this to really hold up. This would be a magnificent creme brulee Valentine's Day cheese.
I love it.
Yeah,
One
that
thing I
would be
will
fun.
say too, a lot of people like to add grapes to a cheese board. Um, Grapes do not go well with this brie. so so while it might look nice, don't eat them together. I'm just gonna caution that so that you have a good experience. This is our Henry's Havarti. This is Henry. He is our second. I think this picture was taken a year ago. He's about to turn 5. But we're always coming up with cheeses that have a story behind them of why they're named the way they are. So this is our Henry. We wanted a cheese that was a little more simple because of our location. We're in central rural Minnesota, and this isn't to be offensive to them, but the tastes just aren't quite there yet. They are used to their Havartis and Colby and orange cheddars, and so we wanted something that we felt good about and proud of, but was tailored to those tastes a little bit. So the Havarti is a real creamy, mild, buttery cheese that we form in a loaf form to make it something a little more fun and unique. And Henry will only eat Henry's Havarti on his quesadillas or grilled cheese sandwiches because he's pretty proud of it. So it's kind of fun to have our kids somehow be part of what we're doing, even if they can't be in our manufacturing area too much.
Havartis have always been, a favorite for the simplicity, like you said. A lot of people like that flavor characteristic. Uh, so besides that, you do the, this for the locals. Uh, you know, what's when you think about all the different cheeses that you do, what's an advantage of the making the Havarti in your creamery?
It's quick to be ready. We make fresh cheese curds on site as well, and they really serve as being part of the Midwest. But to be honest, they're cash flow. They're a way for a cheesemaker to get product out the door quickly, and so the Havarti is similar to that, where it only ages for about 4 weeks before it's ready to be sold. So it serves as a purpose of getting cheese out the door quickly, and and basically just creating another alternative to some of the more stinkier flavored cheeses that we make.
Havartis go across the board with so many great flavors. You do so much with it. I have the rosemary olive oil from Rustic Bakery. Rosemary and this goes so well together. You don't even have to do anything. But I discovered this Girls Meet Dirt. And this is a vanilla plum melody, and they use heritage fruits. And so I thought that would be really fun. A little rosemary, a little vanilla plum, and the Havarti being as its base. The vanilla and rosemary are exceptional. But the cheese, the butteriness of it, a little bit of tang, really works very well with all of it. It doesn't, you still taste the cheese, you still taste the vanilla, you still taste the rosemary. So it's a really nice little combination. But this is the best snacking cheese ever. It's so creamy. I mean, this is like you could ball this up. There's so
Yeah.
much buttery flavor in this. You could just turn it into little cheese balls. Because I was playing with it earlier. Uh, I paired this up. This is an IPA, and I'm not a hophead. I don't really want a lot of hops. And this has got a little bit of hoppiness to it. This is a hippie IPA, and this is Parishman Hollow Brewery, and it's just a really cool little, kind of laid back version of an IPA, which works so well with this, creamy cheese. Mm. All the butter comes out. There's a nice tanginess. It's a really nice little balance of flavors. What do you usually pair your Havarti with?
We a lot of times will do like a cornichon pickle with some dill, or um, even just doing like a caramelized onion grilled cheese sandwich with it is really good. Usually something where you're enhancing the creaminess of it and then adding a little something fun to roll with it. We're actually pairing some local chocolates with our cheeses in the last week or so, and the Havarti was the one where you could really eat it with any chocolate and it's gonna be good. So that's been fun as well.
Yeah, when I was looking at some of the things that I have to pair with it, that was kind of a direction that I was looking at as well. A little bit of chocolate on there. It's so versatile. I think that that's one of the beautiful things about Havartis and that style of being able to use it just about anywhere. I have some Three Little Pigs, sweet and sour gherkins, and that would just do really well with or without the rosemary. So diversity. A lot of people are, what do I pair with it? Well, with this cheese, you can do anything with it. I mean,
Yeah,
this is like a magnificent grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup. You could just, put it on, toasted bread with a little bit of tomato, and you got a great little sandwich there. So
agreed.
yeah, you did really well with this. This is a really fun little cheese.
Thank you.
Very nice. And I like the shape as well. So you make this in loaves then?
Yeah, so I'm on several cheesemaker Facebook group pages, and there's one um, where it's cheesemakers specifically, and so every now and then they'll be selling equipment or other things that they don't use anymore. And someone was selling these 8 uh, loaf forms for cheese making, and I was at a point where I was ready to make something new, so I purchased them, and so we make our Havarti 8 loaves at a time, and that's as much as we make. So it's kind of a fun thing to do because it's the only cheese we make in that shape. It allows us to slice it really nicely too for burgers and the grilled cheese we were talking about. And so kind of a fun little background of utilizing our resources of other cheesemakers and sharing what we have to make something new.
Well, that's really fun. It's just, I thought that was really interesting to have that shape. And of course, taking a slicer and being able to slice down the front of it to be able to make it for a grilled cheese sandwich or on a sandwich makes it
Mhm,
really easy. So diversity of this cheese is amazing.
mhm. So our next cheese is the very first cheese that we started with at Redhead Creamery. It's our Lucky Linda. It's a clothbound cheddar. Linda is my mother, who was my assistant cheesemaker and vice president of Redhead Creamery. And I still remember when we first showed her or proposed to her the label for this cheese when we were first going to release it, and she was almost in tears and was like, "Are you sure?" So we it's fun to have cheeses named after people you love. So um, when we first got started, my struggle was, what cheese do I make? Because I had so many ideas uh, and just didn't know where to start. And so I asked several uh, cheesemongers and buyers at specialty stores and to figure out what's missing in their case, and what from Minnesota would they like to see. And I was advised to make a Minnesota farmstead cheddar, which I was actually surprised because we are so close to Wisconsin, and didn't know that I agreed that there was much room for more cheddar in the case. But decided that if he was going to buy it, then I'll get some made. So I wanted to make it different and unique from what I had been seeing uh, in the area, and decided to make it a cloth-bound cheddar. So it was a little more traditional. Being a first-generation cheesemaker, you want to start something traditional, and so we do the cloth, and then it's also made with veal or animal rennet. So also using some traditional practices with it. Um, and also what's unique, but I didn't realize at the time of first creating it, was that we actually go through the full cheddaring process of making this cheddar. There's a lot of cheddars out there that are stirred curd cheddars and don't go through the actual process of stacking slabs and getting that lactic acid to drop during that process. It's kind of a long, laborious process, but we didn't really know any other way. So our Lucky Linda is fully cheddared and has to age for at least 6 months before we feel the flavor really comes out in the cheese. And it's called Lucky Linda for several reasons. One being that we are about 3 miles south of a little village called Padua that's very Irish, uh, only because of its owners of the pub in town. The town or village is a church and a bar, and the church is now not fully a church anymore, but the bar is fully functioning and thriving. But they do an annual St. Patrick's Day festival every year, and we participate in their parade every year, which is, I don't know, maybe it ranges from 3 to 10 floats in the parade that goes up and down Main Street twice to make sure you really get your money's worth. And we throw green cheese curds out at the parade. So lucky St. Patrick's Day, my mom's favorite event of the year. So we had to name it Lucky Linda. She had all those 4 redheaded daughters too, so we tease her about that. But again, wanted to make something unique. The Lucky Linda is more of an English style cheddar. It's a little more savory, it's a little drier, and we just really like it. It's kind of a staple for us, and we usually pair it with uh, a deeper red wine. So I typically pair a lot of our cheeses with Minnesota specific wines, so I don't always have a great reference for something that would be more nationally known. But the Marquette wine is Minnesota specific, as the Marquette grape was created at the University of Minnesota and is a great cold hardy grape. But those two, the Lucky Linda and the Marquette wine, are like a match made in heaven. So something that we always suggest eating and drinking together.
Can you tell us about the formation of the rind?
Yeah, so we created, they're 10-pound wheels that we make for the Lucky Linda and all of our cheddars, and we then wrap it in cloth, and then that cloth gets larded about 2 weeks into the aging process. And once that happens, we then put that wheel in our larger aging room, which is a cave-like environment. So it's about 53 degrees and probably ranging between 70 and 80% humidity, depending on the weather. I always joke that I talk like a farmer based on the weather, because my caves respond to the weather just like a farmer would be watching the weather for their fields and their crops. So our caves are underground, so they really fluctuate with the dry, cold winters and the really wet, warm summers. So we're constantly watching and playing with those rooms to keep our cheeses good and healthy. So we allow mold to grow on the outside of that cloth, and the mold growth is so cool to watch as it develops and it changes through time. In the spring, we'll have white, fluffy mold growing on the outside of the rind that will turn into a green, blue mold, and eventually turns kind of into a gray phase where the mold is kind of dying, and we brush those wheels off. That rind has started to really develop because from those molds and from having the cloth on there as well. And it's just really fun as an entrepreneur or the cheesemaker to see that change and develop. The rind is fully edible. A lot of people question whether you can eat the rind or not. And yeah, it's a natural part of the cheese.
That's so fun. You know, one of the first experiences that I had with artisan cheeses was a Cantal that was, you know, about 12 inches high, about 12 inches round. And it smelled like a cellar, like a
Yeah.
dirt cellar. Oh, it was just, I grew up in Iowa. And so, you know, having a root cellar, you can smell the earthiness of it. And it just so much earthiness came off it. So, you know, the first thing I did when I opened this was like, oh, this is so nice. You know, it's just got such that beautiful earthy smell to it. It's mild though. You know, it's a lot milder than I was anticipating. I thought it would be a little more sharper, but it's really, you know, you want something that has got a classic English style cheddar. And this is, you know, what you have. And a beautiful color on this. And this is all natural, right? No one not all added to this?
Correct.
Yeah. And so a beautiful, that just shows how much butter is in this cheese and creaminess to it. So, you know, pairing it, you know, I thought it was, when you went Irish and all that, so I went with the Fat Toad Farm, which, you know, Vermont is
Yes.
there. And this is a goat's caramel. It's a goat's milk made caramel, but it's their Irish whiskey cream.
Good choice.
And, oh, you know, and so I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that. And then I'm using the tart cherry, cocoa nib, and almond artisan crisp, you know, with Rustic Bakery. And then I wanted to go with an Irish red, but you know, this cheddars typically for me are more of an IPA. So this is a local brewery, Cigar City, and this is the Tabaka, and it is a red IPA. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so I thought, you know, Redhead, red IPA,
Yes.
and we've got the Irish whiskey in there, and then of course the chewy crisp, which I just love. So putting those all together.
Do you ever have to cook, Michael? You have all these awesome sides that you probably have your pantry full of. It's the best part.
Mm. You know, even though like the Havarti, this doesn't need anything else to be a delicious cheese, but it's nice to be able to do something, create a board. And you were talking about earlier about fruit. I'm not against fruit, but I'm not for it. You know, I'm not going to put fruit on a plate. There's a couple of reasons why. One is that then I have to worry about seasonality of it, and which is kind of cool though. You know, when something's in season, then you want to use it fresh. It's kind of like, you know, you were talking about Crave's mozzarella. You know, having that in the summer with fresh tomatoes and fresh basil out of the garden. You know, that's a good direction, you know, to go. But to force in a fruit just because you want to have a garnish on the side, like the grapes. I've never found a cheese that works well with grapes. You know, it's you know, I'm sure, you know, it's kind of like the people that drink a Diet Coke with steak and chicken and everything, where, you know, you're going to eat the grape and you're going to like the grape for that, but it doesn't go with the cheese. So using spreads, just like the fig spread, going out and finding fresh figs right now would be challenging. So I don't have to do that. I just have to open up a container and I have fresh figs every single time. And when I'm done with it, I put it away. I don't have to worry about cutting it. And, you know, we talk about entertaining, and entertaining with cheese should be, it should be fun. Should be, you know, you open up the cheese, you put a couple things out, and you're entertaining, you know?
Yes.
I always tell everybody, you know, before your party, you spend hours of cleaning the house, and that's the hardest part, is because you don't want people to actually believe that you live there, you know, because how clean everything is. Because, you know, we don't, you know, we're not messy, but still the point is that you spend more time getting ready for the party than you do actually enjoying your cheese. And I
Mhm.
think, you know, this is such a beautiful cheese to work with. You know, you've nailed this. It's just so nice. You know, and such a great cave aged with that beautiful rind.
Thank you. Yeah, and the one you have now is fairly young for our Lucky Linda. We've been through a phase of figuring out how much do we make ahead and how long do we let it age before our cave is too full. So, um, so we're in a phase this past year of really having a lot of young Lucky Linda. And as it ages up to 18 months, it gets almost more Parmesan like, where it will get, it'll taste a little saltier and even more like butterscotch notes to it. And that's when I really enjoy having that cheese specifically. So thank you. I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah, it's exceptional. It really is a great cheese. And you're right about the Parmesan. There's some nice crystallization in here.
Thanks. I still remember when we saw our first crystals in our cheese, and my mom and I did a little dance in the kitchen. So we, you know, I've always loved uh, aged Goudas and other cheeses where those crystals would just naturally show up, and never thought we would see that in our own cheese. So little moments of cheesemaker celebrating.
Can you talk a little bit more about that special crystallization?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's the tyrosine crystal that shows up in typically in aged cheese. Um, there's all sorts of information out there about how they form and why they form, and um, there are cultures now you can use to encourage it to form, that I'm still learning about a little bit, but even just 2 years ago, that was new to us. So when those crystals naturally show up in your cheese and they form, that was something that you looked forward to as a cheesemaker, because it shows a good quality, fun cheese, and we've really marveled. We continue to marvel over longtime cheesemakers and what they're able to do. So feeling like we're falling into that category is still kind of surreal for us. So Margie, you know, we were just talking about cultures a little bit. Margie is our cheddar, where we're playing a little bit with some of those fun cultures that can encourage the tyrosine crystals and provide a little more flavor, and something unique. And I sat in a seminar, I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago already, on cheddar specifically, and how the US really has steered towards sweeter cheddars, which, if you're a traditionalist, cheddar isn't typically mentioned as sweet, um, but um, it is now. And so a lot of cheesemakers are steering towards that because that's what people are buying. So I wanted to get in on the game a little bit and play with some of our cheddars, um, and so that's what Margie is for us. It's a sweeter, um, sharper cheddar, and again, I think the one you have might be a little bit younger, but we went with a natural rind again. This one's not cloth bound. We let the mold grow directly on the outside of the wheel just to create um, a new texture and new experience for the eater. And Maggie, or Margaret, is my youngest sister, and I always called her Margie. So this cheese was named after her, but really has become one of our more popular cheddars as it develops and ages out. And it's fun to have two different cheddars. I mean, the Lucky Linda is much drier and less sweet than this is, so it's fun to have the two to kind of compare, especially when doing tastings or pairings with others, to show that there are differences. So when someone says they want a sharp cheddar, well, what do you mean by that? What do you define as sharp or creamy, or all those defining words? So having two different cheeses that they might consider the same because they're both cheddar, and then tasting different is kind of fun.
Typically, when I'm going through the pairings, I've done a lot of cheddars in the past, so I have some go-tos, and I like spiciness to it. And when I tasted this cheddar, one of the first things that came across was there's a nice buttery flavor, but the sharpness in here has got that little bit of a lemon lime, but the salt is beautiful.
Cool.
It's got such, it's that having that little bit of that saltiness that I think really brings out more of the salty butter, but the tang, it works in there. So when I tried that, I was thinking about, well, what am I going to pair with this? And then I have another local brewery or cidery. This is Cigar City Cider and Mead, and this is their apple pie cider. And I thought, that would be really fun. And honestly, those two together are a meal. Oh, there's the saltiness with the apple pie, and this tastes like an actual apple pie that you're drinking. So they go really well together. But they don't work as well with what I paired with it. And I thought that was kind of funny because it just, I was looking for something spicy. And so I grabbed a Bonnie's Jams, and this is her red pepper jelly. So it's got some really nice heat, but really you taste the red pepper with a little bit of spiciness to it. And to cool it down a little bit is the Effie's, the corn. I think corn, kind of like cornbread with the spiciness, and also having all that tanginess in the cheddar, is a lot of fun. So that's what I did.
I like it. The pepper jam would be really good on the brie too. We eat that a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's not bad. Because there's so much sweetness that it actually makes the apple Granny Smith instead of being like a Macintosh sweet.
Sure.
So it changes the complexion of it. If you like tang, it works out really well, but it's almost pucker tang. But the cheese and the cider together by themselves, magnificent. And again, not having a bandaged rind, but having this beautiful floor here. This floor is just gorgeous. Very mild, not as earthy as the other one is, But again, I think the love that you have to give a cheese like this to be able to get a rind this beautiful, and I just love it. I also love the imperfections. I think that just tells that, it's not a sterile thing. You let it do what it needs to do. There's some slight cracking in that, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of cheese. This would be a magnificent cheese board. Any one of these on a cheese board is just beautiful.
Thank you. We need more of you to enjoy those imperfections.
Yeah.
I agree, though. It's fun. It makes it look like real life versus photoshopped.
Exactly. That's the thing about artisan, is that there's a perfection to making cheese look perfect, but there's also the perfection of it letting to be it slightly imperfect. And I think that that's,
Mhm.
you know, uh, your Brie is a beautiful, classic, beautiful rind and symmetrical. It just looks absolutely perfect. And then you see exactly what you want a bandaged wrap in this to look like, and that's rustic. And it is. It's very rustic looking and it looks natural.
Thank you.
So tell us about the Good Foods Award.
Yeah, so I entered the Good Foods Foundation uh, cheese contest and have actually for the last, I think, at least 3 or 4 years with just the North Fork Munster. I've been encouraged by Bo Vandra from Looks Marketplace in Sioux Falls. He's always been encouraging me to enter this cheese because it's one of his favorites and it's my favorite of what we make. And this year we were really excited. We luckily won in the cheese category.
That's really amazing. Really applaud you for, focusing on the terroir and the seasonality of your cheeses. It's always a challenge, and that's how you keep the pigs fed.
Yeah, our compost pile. I keep saying we should get 2 pigs for that whole purpose, but we're yet to do that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cheesemakers, Mateo up in, there.
Yeah,
He talks about that, that they went through many, many batches feeding the pigs.
I
So,
bet.
yeah.
Yeah, so the last slide is just showing how we love to share uh, cheese with everyone. And this specifically is our fresh cheese curds that we pan fry. We do very little deep frying here, mostly because it's a mess and it's a lot to do. So a friend of mine from college, who's still my best friend, came up with this concept of pan frying curds, and you really just you get a cast iron pan smoking hot, literally, and throw in some fresh cheese curds and stir it up for maybe 5 minutes. Like, you do not want to walk away. And you have a crispy exterior and a gooey inside. And you can top it with honey or a honey mustard. We've done maple syrup and bacon and brown sugar, of course, and can really just play with different flavors. But this is kind of what we've become known for at our cheese shop when we've been able to be open and enjoying a hot pan of pan fried curds with each other and a good beer or a good cider and just, it's the way you should live, is enjoying your food and creating an experience out of it versus just eating for the sake of eating. Just thank you. I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to help share our story, and I hope to uh, visit with others if there are questions or anything. Um, you're welcome to send me an email or visit us on our website or Facebook page. Would be happy to connect with others who are interested in what we're doing at our farm and our creamery.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, with your cheeses, obviously, but also getting to know you a little bit. That was really nice. I love your farm. I love that you've been in the dairy business for such a long time. A lot of people, need to know that when you're working with making cheese, the farm, the animals, all that plays an incredible part on it. It's not just the cheesemaker's skill, which is important, but everything else. Without the milk, without the quality of that, you can't make great cheese, and you have some great milk that makes these cheeses. So it was a really fun listening to your story, and I'm really glad that we had a chance to be able to meet. And you know, hopefully, you know, we'll come back and do some more cheese tasting in the near future.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
All right. So thanks again. And this will be on my YouTube channel, Michael Landis Cheese, in the next couple of days. So if you want to pick up the cheeses, you can order them directly from them and taste along with us again. All right. So take care, Allison. Alise, thank you again so much for stopping by and spending the time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. You take care.
Yep. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.